Hey everyone, it's Gankun, and today we'll be doing a Z-Max deck profile. So what we have here is actually a very special deck. This was played by AA79 in the World Championship in Japan, and was the deck B for second place. So we already know that this deck was very powerful. It would have had to win many, many matches to get that far. So now let's talk about this deck itself. So what we have is a Z-Max. This is a deck that was a little bit doable in BP6, but I feel like it was missing a couple of the key pieces that really uh, came to light in BP7. So let's talk about this deck and how it works, different combos you can play, different ways you can even modify this deck yourself, and everything that's great about it. So here we have Z-Max. This is a deck that is a little bit heavier on the Z side than the Max, but you do have a healthy number of Maxes. So starting on the Zs, we have 5 level 1 Zs. This is 4 level 1 draws and an additional level 1 here, which means it's on the relatively lighter side of the level 1s because we're going to be more top heavy on both sides. Now we have 10 level 2 Zs. So 4 of the muscle draw recycle cards, 4 of these scene searchers, and 2 of these 11k doubles. So now this one we're going to come back to when we talk about the maxes, but 11k double printed BP is a very important marker for this deck specifically. So now this deck, this card here is 6, 11k, 13k, and it does get a BP grade increase against speed, which isn't uncommon, but it's not the most common type in this matchup. Usually you'll see it against certain Tiga cards, Nexus cards, and some others here and there. But more importantly, anything that's 11k will be able to get a BP grade increase from this max card. So this is why we're using this Z specifically as opposed to some of the other level 2 options. Now for our level 3s, we have here 2 of the starter deck Z. So this is a 7, 13k, 16k with the BP grade up increase against speeder armed. So if you're able to get the right matchup and hit the balanced type, then you're able to get that BP grade increase. Really important when we come to this card deck's strategy. Now we have 4 of the triple R from BP04. This is a really key Z card, really for any of the Z decks, where you can discard card and give plus 1000 to any Ultra Hero. And lastly, we have 3 copies of the Delta Rise Claw. Again, another 11k double printed card, 5, 11k, 18k. And this one has the crazy effect where if you have a scene out, you can discard the scene and play into field a scene that's 1 round higher. So we have a round 2 and a round 3 scene. Now, to talk on the max side, here we have 4 level 1 maxes. Again, light on the max, level 1s. But these guys will give you extra draw, which is really important to fuel the power used by this deck. Then we have a 7 level 2 maxes. So we have 4 of the scene searchers and 2 of these, again, 11k double printed BP, swapping with adjacent on doubles. So really key positional card. You can use it to gain some advantage here and there. So always something you want to look out for with the max cards. And finally, I think the key pieces that really make the Z-Max pairing much more powerful in this set are the level 3 maxes. We have 7 level 3 maxes, and we have 4 of the triple R. So with this one, if you play it as a double or a single, it gets a BP grade increase and plus 2000 in the first lane and plus 1000 in the second lane. So as a 2-3 double, it can become a really crazy 19k double or all the way up to a 17k in lane 3. There's also some things you shouldn't underestimate with it. You could play as a single in lane 3 and it's already an 11k and always has that chance to get BP grade increased. So now we have the other new max double R. Now this one, as a double or triple, on play you can give the any of your single or double Ultra Heroes that have a printed grade of 11k double a BP grade increase. So what that means is if you play this as a double, it can bump itself up to 17k, just like the starter deck Cheeds. You'll face out there. You'll be able to BP grade increase the Delta Rise Claw, the level 2, even like a single or double of this into get a BP grade increase, which makes it a really key burst card. You can use that burst to take lead, to play your powerful scenes, and you can do a lot of things with it. So this is a key card to think about with the deck itself. Now lastly, we have the scenes and the Zetons. So we have 3 Proof of Braveness. It's a round 2 scene, which means you can play it right after round 2 and use it to do a lot of your max tricks. So what this means is with this card, you can take any of your double maxes, put it into your hand, and then play any maxes. Sorry, any of your double or triple maxes. And then you can play any max double from your hand, which means you could have a 1-2 on the field and use this and get to activate one of these on-play effects again. Alternatively, you could have 1-2 and then swap it straight into a 2-3, catch an opponent by surprise with these BP grade up related effects, or go from a triple back to a double and get that additional plus 2,000, which with either of these guys can easily become 19k plus. So a lot of combos you can really pull off of that. And then we have the Unidentified Object Convoy Order. This is one of the most powerful Z scenes. With this, you can give up to 3 times a Z plus 1,000 as long as you exile a Z from discard. So with this, you'll be breaking a lot of ties. And lastly, we have 2 Zetons. So for World specifically, you might expect to see a lot of Jeeds, whether it's in their deck A or deck B. It's going to be very common to face either a Jeed, maybe an Earth Garon Blazar, or some other mono decks, in which case Zeton will be able to provide a really key 20k and take down any of those other top meta decks. So remember, this was built for the WCS 2-deck format, so it becomes especially effective to have some of these Zetons. You're more likely to get the mileage out of it there. So with this deck, how you really play it is you really want to focus on counterplaying what your opponent's doing. So with this deck, if your opponent makes any misses or they have any weak hands and you're able to pick up on it, this deck can really capitalize and flip on that in an instant. So you have a couple options for BP grade increases with the maxes. If you're able to play any of these maxes as a double, you have a pretty solid lane, which usually is winning or might be able to tie whatever's in that lane. And then you have some really powerful Zs. So the Alpha Edge in particular is really the key card for winning games. You can flip a bunch of lanes, go all in and discard your hand. And usually you kind of have it. So in this current meta, you don't have a lot of Rosso Blues running around or other decks with hidden information. So usually with what's out on the field, you can calculate exactly how much power you need to win the game. And whether you're the lead player and you have scene control and then your opponents don't have a lot of surprises left, or if you're next player and your opponent has done all their effects, from right then and there, you can usually compute if you go all in, discard 3 cards, you can potentially flip enough lanes to win the game. Now, Delta Rise Claw is also a really strong triple as an 18k, but alternatively, you can use some really cheeky plays where you play this as a double, let's say turn 3, play this max as a double or triple in a different lane, and now you have an 18k in the lead lane. That should get you lead to play your powerful scene cards, and then you can keep bouncing this with like Proof of Braveness, transition it into the round 3 scene, and then overpower most of the lanes. So it's a really strong strategic deck. So I would say it's not the easiest deck to play, but it can be really powerful if you have a good understanding of the matchups in the game field. So I think with this deck, you're really trying to mulligan to make sure you have enough draws to set up either your Alpha Edge or Delta Rise Claw as a triple somewhere. Then you're going to play a lot of these 2-3s in lanes 3, 4, 5. Very likely your opponent isn't building triples there. So usually just 1 or 2 bumps from the Alpha Edge or the scene should get you to enough power to flip those lanes. Then similarly, early on, if you can play this max as a double, it should be winning its lanes or at least competing with them. And then if you play this 2-3 max in the late game, it's still a 17k on play. Again, enough power to usually flip that lane, and then you can discard the rest of your cards to lock it in. So it's really a game about looking at what your opponent's doing. Now, if you are playing this deck and you want to mess around with it a little bit, I do think there's some other honorable mentions you want to consider if you want to deviate from the build that AA79 was using. So a couple ones I like to use when I was just messing around with this deck previously is from the scene card point of view. You can always use the live coverage, the monster transport operation. Now, I would never replace all of Proof of Braveness. I think it's pretty solid, especially with the number of maxes. But if you were to decrease the number of maxes, you could always probably drop this down to like 2 copies. Instead, use the other round 2 Z scene. Now, with this one, you discard 3 cards from your deck, and then you can draw a card and discard any card. So effectively, that would put 4 extra cards in discard, which is a great way to set up for a future round 3 scene, and a good way to set up for getting rid of a card you don't need in your hand to draw something else. It's a great way to get rid of a Zeton if it's a matchup that doesn't need it, or if you have too many level 1 maxes. Another great way to get a mini muscle draw there and fix some consistency. I think another honorable mention for things you might want to mess around with is some other level 3 options. So we have here the Beta Crescent Slash. Again, it's another 8, 13, 17k, which means it's a really solid option for late game single. 8ks usually beat other level 2, level 1, like 7ks. And then worst case, you can also pump it with a card or two to break that tie. But as a double, again, 13k, really solid double number. And if you have a case where you have Proof of Braveness out, or you have Scene out, and you've already used everything you need, and you just really need another card, you can trash your Scene and mill 3 cards and take a Z out of that. So great way to get a little extra cards in your hand if you just need something to win that game from there. So I think it's a really solid choice. I think the starter deck Z is also a strong one, but it's a little bit more matchup dependent. So depending on your local meta, it might make sense to change it. I think another third one I've enjoyed playing a little bit of is the Delta Rise Claw from BP06. Now this one, when you discard a card, you can give that character on play a BP grade up. So that means you can play a single, and just for discarding one card, it becomes 11k. Not too bad. Or as a late game all-in double, you can discard a card, and now it's a 16k. So whereas normally discarding a card with Z gets you plus 1,000, in this case, discarding a card gets you an extra 4,000, which gets you as much value as you need if you just need something to close the game. I think these are all really good options. I actually was playing Z Max recently in a lot of different Galaxy Cups in Japan after Worlds, and I definitely had a lot of fun with this deck. You can definitely find a lot of neat tricks that can win you games. For example, if you have a 1-2 max on the field and you have Proof of Braveness, your opponent has to be very careful with even Tiga swaps. For example, if they try to use the Tiga RRR and swap into a lane with a 1-2 max, next thing they know, it can get swapped into a 17k plus double that you can then use Alpha Edge to hit 19k with. So a lot of little sneaky plays you can do with Proof of Braveness with that hidden information. I think a couple other things you can do is if you want to run fewer Zetons or maybe go a little bit lighter on the maxes, you can add a couple more level 1 Zs and then build more triples and build into more of the Delta Rise Claw. However, I think that the real key pieces you'll need to win most of your matches are some form of Alpha Edge and some form of max doubles. I think when you have those on the field, you're at your strongest and you're really reacting to your opponent's plays. So I think with this is A79's second place deck B for the Ultraman Card Game World Championship. So I hope everyone else here tries this deck out, take it for a ride. It does need a little bit of practice to get used to, but when you have the right understanding, it's a really strong deck. So let us know in the comments what you think about the deck. We'll definitely be featuring this in some of the upcoming match videos, and hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you.